I guess we'll know. Okay, we're live. Good morning, everybody. This is Senate Economic Development. It is the 3rd of May, and we are looking at draft 4.1, which I believe will be going up on our website momentarily, of the Workforce Development Bill. It is now a 91-page bill. We've had many of our committees of jurisdiction weigh in on it. And what I think we'd like to do is at a fairly high level, because we only have now 40 minutes to go through where we are with this bill. We have had the Senate Health and Welfare weigh in. We've had BSAC change language. We've had we have had great input from a number of people, and this is where we are at this moment in time. And I think we're actually in pretty good shape, but obviously nothing's perfect. So with that in mind, David, would you be kind enough to just sort of high level race us through this baby, and let's go for it. Sure. Because our objective is to have this voted out, given the time crunch, our objective is to get this voted out by 9:15 tomorrow morning, so it can be on the floor as an amendment to the bills we're expecting from the House.
Okay. Well,
does that make sense? Let me just close the door.
Scott, can you print out the email Chris Kaliba sent us? He sent us an attachment about how that forgivable loan would work, and I still
right. He has sent that, and we haven't had time to. Yeah. And also Patrick's even more important is Patrick's JFO fiscal thing with every section.
Oh yeah,
so
that would be really helpful.
You know what? Look, David, let me just send that to also to have that printed out. And I apologize, but Scott, I'm going to ask you to have this printed out also, if you could, for everybody. So I've just sent that to you.
Right, so what we're going to be working on right now.
We're going to work on 401. It was sent to us this morning at 8:24, and we're going to be we're going to cruise through this.
All right, just double checking now. The draft that I'm looking at is 4.1.
Correct.
Dated 5/2 at 5 p.m.
Correct.
Okay.
So David and I have been working on this, fine tuning it, pulling together. As you recall, BSAC had some additional concerns. They have added their language. The one, and as we go through it, I'll raise additional issues that we've had. But basically, we're in good shape for discussing this right now. So, David, why don't you take it away?
Sure. So, good morning, David Hall, Legislative Counsel. Again, draft 4.1 of H703 committee amendment. So remember that the highlights that are in this document are reflecting differences with the bill as it passed the House. Right. So on page 1, section 1, this is a whole new section. So it's highlighted. This is what was proposed by Senate Education. Right. And it's a purpose and implementation section. So section 2, this is unchanged currently from the House. This appropriates money, $2.5 million to the UVM Office of Engagement to administer a statewide forgivable loan program of $5,000 per graduate for graduates from Vermont higher education institutions commit to work in Vermont for 2 years after graduation. And then $387,000 of ETC for a skilled meat cutter program.
Yeah.
Can we make it a little louder? Or
yeah, we made it. No, we're making it a little louder. Okay, then.
Do you want this document on the screen in your room?
I have a hard copy in front of me, so I'm okay.
You do? Yep. Oh, clever you.
Took my printer to try to work out.
I've got an online document.
Yeah, we're looking at it online. We're fine.
Okay. So the second piece of that subsection B is the $500,000 to provide grants through AHS to refugee or new American focused programs working in Vermont to support increased in-migration or retention of recent arrivals. So
Right.
That's
Yeah.
section,
Ooh, now a new section 3,
I guess that,
because I think the purpose, did we have that as a section or anyway, I think that's where.
well,
So-
anyway, let's not worry about the numbering right now.
Yeah.
I'll take care of that. Any substantive questions on this section 2, immediate strategies?
I'm good. I
All right.
think that the UVM answered some of our questions. And they're going to split the administrative costs with VSAC. And they're mostly doing the marketing and VSAC's mostly administering the loan repayment.
I just wanna, I'd like to reserve the right to revisit that if the language that they sent us, because I
They didn't-
still didn't feel.
Yeah, they didn't send us any new language.
No, I
to
just
put in
meant
there.
their explanation, still didn't feel.
Now is the time for us to do it.
Okay, well, then I'm waiting for it to be printed, because I can't pull it up in my mouth.
This is the UVM. Nope, this is,
Do you have that somewhere?
I couldn't pull it up in my email, I could only pull up Allison's response saying this is helpful.
Let me try to find it again.
Can you send it to Scott?
yep, I'll send it to Scott. He may not have included, David, hold on one brief sec. Let me just, what's Chris's last name again?
Khalifa, K-O-L.
Khalifa, right? I got it. Further details. Here is what he said, yes. Yeah. Okay, I think we need to deal with this now.
Okay, well, that's why I wanted it printed.
For the moment, given our time frame, I thought that, oh, yeah, so I'm just sent that to you, Scott. If you could, so let's come back to it and let's
Yeah.
keep going so that we,
That's what I said.
thanks. Okay, so let's come back to section 2, and let's keep going in this. So we'd be moving to CTE funding.
Yeah, so the CTE governance, the next section is CTE governance fund. It's the findings section. So let's skip ahead to page 5.
Yeah.
Funding and governance structures of career technical education in Vermont. And all the highlighting here, these are the changes proposed by the Agency of Education, endorsed by Senate Education. So this is the ongoing study of the CTE framework in the state. It's $180,000 in general fund dollars, and the work in the Senate version would be performed exclusively by AOE rather than the House's version, which involved JFO.
This finishes the pilot they've been working on.
Yes.
I'm fine with this. How is everybody else? Do we let's check this off? Yes, okay, sounds like we're checking it off. Next section.
All right, so that takes us to page 7. Section 4, investment in the upskilling of private sector employers. And this is $250,000 general fund appropriation for a contract to provide business coaching and other forms of training to BIPOC business owners, networking, special convenings, fairs, workshops, internships, career guidance, etc.
Yep,
That's unchanged from the House.
yep.
Oh, page 8, the educator workforce development. Everybody seeing that?
Yep, this came to us from the Education Committee, I believe.
Indeed. And so again, this was basically the peer support program, mentoring, etc. You'll see on page 9, there is a $712,500 appropriation from the education fund.
Right, this and the 15 million, I will remind everybody, are proposals for the yield bill. So they are not funding considered out of this bill, but the language and the policy is in our bill at the moment. And David wants to make sure that we don't double appropriate this money. And the question I think is, David, how do we handle this versus having it in the yield bill and finance? Is that your question?
Yeah, just make sure you're only actually appropriating the money in one bill, not
Right.
not multiple places.
We're on section 4A. It says workforce, educator workforce development. So this is a new addition, their proposal for how to spend some of the 90 million that we have in one-time money in the ed fund, what is being called the yield bill. And so my question to the two finance members is,
I want to keep it in here for now.
okay, we'll keep it in here.
That's fine.
Great, let's move on. Section 5 is our Office of Workforce Innovation, the head of the octopus, as we have said. And the governor's office is very interested in this. They also have the same thing in mind. They have not gotten back to, I believe this will be subject of some negotiation. But at the moment, I think this is a great placeholder for what the governor also is supportive of. Work in this arena. The question is what this looks like finally. But
Is the administration going to get back with anything more? I mean, this is going to go
well,
tomorrow.
it's just going so that we can then discuss it further.
Yeah, this is, again, just to put this in context, we're trying to come up with what our wording is going to be for a concurrence with further amendment. This is definitely going to conference.
Oh, yeah.
So there's time to continue to work on this.
Brittany and I are working on it. I have not gotten new language
Okay,
over
so you're
it,
working with Brittany.
but
Okay.
we're moving. Yeah.
The only thing one concern that I have with this is the money. I'd rather be more generous in this than tight with it. For instance, if we put $500,000 in here and we decide for discussions that we might want to put 2 positions or something like that, whatever, I don't know what the numbers are, but I don't come back and say we already have to. But I'm just saying that we don't want to curtail ourselves for conference to be limited as to what this looks like. So I want to, by tomorrow, we can talk about it, but I want to reserve the possibility of putting more money into this section. This is the one section of the bill that I really feel I'm tired of workforce.
Right.
Some change.
Right. Okay, so there's a question mark on whether 500,000 is enough.
Right.
Okay, I'm happy to chat further about that. But
are there metrics that we're looking for this position? What does success look like?
success looks like
Metrics, I couldn't hear you.
metric. Success would, I think that's part of what we would be discussing further, but I think at the moment, it sort of says here, is it would be coordinating, it would be doing the job that is not being done now, which is coordinating internal, interagency workforce development efforts, and also external, the colleges, the universities. It really be the person in the office that coordinates all the workforce activity so that we aren't duplicating anything, so that we're sending the right crowd to the service providers. DOL, almost all of them are service providers. They are not coordinators. And so what we really need in this system to create a system that works effectively is somebody who's coordinating it.
But what does work effectively mean?
Work effectively and it gets results, I think. Effective
What
work means
results? I mean, like,
that's
I
an
just think
assumption.
that's a lot of money to spend when we say just get results.
Well, we need a coordinated system. I mean, what would you propose?
I feel like it's very last minute to just say.
27,000 of 28,000 job openings are filled by such and such a date. That's the result.
Right.
The result is, are you filling jobs faster than you did without this position?
Right,
If there are metrics of the before, that's another way to do it.
right.
I think that's hard to do.
I know it's hard to do, but those are the results.
Is this set up as, is this sunsetted at a time, or is this ongoing? Is it
I think we could put in an interim report immediately,
Do
like
we
in
not
January.
have an interim report?
Don't make fun of
This
us,
is good.
Keisha.
The number of
I'm
job
sorry,
openings
that's, you know,
goes down.
this
I
has
mean,
been a big effort to try and actually get coordination in a system that's not coordinated. And I think that, that, you know, there is not an interim report.
What is the
but we could
report
ask
that's
for one
currently
very
required?
easily. You know, just that's what we're doing, is trying to figure out what we want in this section. If we want an interim report, I think that's a great idea, because what we are talking about is getting something set up. So we will want to know in January how they're doing and how coordinated they are and what they think they're capable of. I think before you set metrics on a coordination system, you need to ask them, what does it look like? What have they accomplished in terms of coordinating it? And what's possible. I think I'd ask them for an update in January to find out what they've been able to accomplish thus far, and then figure out how to set goals with them. Because I think this is the crowd you set goals with. We want to be able to accomplish X by X to Y time, but I don't think you can put that on a group at this point. I think that's part of their job, is to set up what the expectations, what they hope to accomplish, and what they're able to do coordinating it. But I think it's going to take that understanding of the whole system and understanding who's doing what now for them to even set those
You're
kinds
gonna
of.
ask them to come up with a proposal for measuring success as part of this interim report, including metrics. I mean,
Yes,
the
that's a
metrics are
great-
right
that's a
here.
great
Take a look at section 5A.
Yeah,
5A has the list of where we are, and making
Yeah.
a measurable change in those metrics.
Right.
Fewer than 28,000 job openings, fewer than 9,945 meeting the statistical definition of unemployed, fewer people receiving unemployment, the stopping of the shrinkage of the workforce,
Right.
participation rate in the workforce rising
right,
from 6%. Those are metrics. That's what you're looking for.
right, but I
Now,
think,
the question is, how are they gonna collect that if you don't ask them to either give you a method for giving you
right,
these performance
that's-
metrics
I think you're.
as a first step?
Okay, so David, could we add something under, wherever you think it would be? So implementation, under implementation, maybe before the appropriation, we could add our expectation that they would come back to us in January with exactly what Keisha and Randy are talking about.
But I mean, Randy is saying they're already asking for that in 5A, so.
Well, no,
No, we're
it's
setting
been
the
lined
problem,
out,
we're
not
identifying
maybe
the problem.
someplace else. It's been lined out. That may have been moved, but those are the statistics that are meaningful in terms of what our workforce problem is. It quantifies.
It's at the top of 5, it's not crossed out. It says there are all these job openings, there are all these, I think what we wanna do is set,
Yeah, that's right. It's there. It just moved.
yeah, it's here, it's
Yeah,
all
that's it.
here, and the
That's
question
it.
is, we want them to come back to us and identify what they're doing to solve the challenge that we have laid forward.
Yeah, and we
here in
also
this
want to
section.
see those metrics at various points in time going forward. Compare where we are right now compared to
Right,
where we are with this position in place.
right,
I think we have
And
to
an
be really,
explanation.
yeah, we have to be realistic. By January, this person might have been there for
6 months or
I mean,
4
I
months.
doubt 6 months. I
Yeah.
highly doubt 6 months.
Yeah.
That sounds impossible.
Well, that's,
And that there will always be these huge lightning struck, Rutland, for example, and the job openings are higher. That's
Right.
always possible. But there should be the same metrics so that we can measure where we are now, where we are at some point in time in the future with this position operating, and why.
so David, maybe we could ask for an update with expectations of what is possible, and a time frame, and I don't know, you probably have the language, our plan to, with a plan to.
Why don't we let David take a shot at it? Come back to us. as opposed to trying to write it here. Given our time frame.
because we have now 20 minutes. So, okay, good point, thank you. I just want to be constructive and not give it, okay, so. Then we go into the Department of Labor's work, which is 5B, sorry,
5A.
5A, thank you. Lost here in this bill, 5A. So then this is the work DOL would do as a service provider, which is to sort of reignite the regional workforce, what I like to view as the one-stop portals of regional coordination, and do a pilot, a 2-year pilot with beginning with 2 or 3 regions of the state. I'm not sure $1 million is going to be able to do 3 regions, but David, we may on page 15, we may want to make that more realistic, or get a sense from Sarah whether they would want to do 2 or 3. Amanda, do you have a notion of that?
Yeah, I think for $1 million, we would not be able to do 3.
Okay, so David, on line 14, let's move that to 2.
What is this? Could you just give us just a general?
Okay, maybe David. David, I'll give it back to David. Sorry.
We're looking at the regional workforce expansion system at this point.
Yeah.
Is this the one that's replacing other workforce efforts, or is this a new effort?
This is revivifying an old effort, I believe, and one that has been cut pretty significantly. But you'll remember from Sarah's testimony, this is creating new capacity regionally to work with our employers and with our workers, and giving them Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a one-stop regional center for where somebody would come who needs to identify both the training, the jobs they might want, the training they need, the certifications they need, and job placement. It's a whole, it would be the whole system. It would be taking, and this is what I thought we had, we had wanted to have, I know, and it has been cut. These regional offices have been cut slowly, pretty steadily since the recession. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this is my understanding is DOL's beginning to rebuild what had been envisioned as a one-stop portal in every region.
But now you limited this to 2 rather than 3, but if you go to the language at the bottom of page 16, the language is still set up for 3. 3 shall be workforce expansion, assigned 1 each to 3 different regions of the state.
Right.
So there's got to be modification there. And the question is, are the number of people overstated here?
Why are we doing, if we're doing this as a pilot, why do we need 3 or 2? It sounds like this is work they already do. This is all very generalized stuff. Why are we putting more money into this?
At this point, you'd have to hear from Sarah, but my understanding is exactly what I just said. To reinvigorate these regional offices, make them full-time. Many of them are not even open full-time anymore. Most of them aren't. And to staff them adequately with people who actually know what they're talking about and who are engaged in the work more fully than they have been. So I
think we should stop there, because that's not what this does. I think if we were appropriating, first of all, if they're limited service positions, we're talking about maybe 4, if not now 2 or 3 positions. So they're not, I don't know what we mean by people who know what they're talking about, as opposed to our current staff in our labor offices. And I think we'd want to be more specific if we wanted them to have normal operating hours and create more long-term coordinating positions. But these are limited service positions, and we don't have any guarantee that the offices are now open standard hours anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I would be more in favor of doing one pilot and do it right, as opposed to diluted. And it seems like it's just work that they do already. Just never felt comfortable with such.
Can I actually ask Amanda?
Yeah.
Amanda, does the department maintain a sort of dollar amount that it would need to keep all of the offices open, hours that are standard that people can?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can look into that and get some information.
Okay, I'd rather find consistency. And I think we have people in the department that would be happy with this work.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think we should just resource them better.
I think that has been an issue. They have not been well resourced. We've pulled back our resources for these regional centers. We could, I think we would need input from Sarah on this to do that. But if the committee's at this point wanting to do one really well, I think that we would need to know what the staffing requirements, in addition to what they currently have, what they would want or need. So Amanda, can you get that for us, if you can, in the next few minutes?
Absolutely.
To get, if we did one as sort of a model, set up a model one-stop portal. I mean, that's really, my understanding of this is it's to reinvigorate a system that was in place, but that has been whittled away and under-resourced. Is that fair?
I think that's partially fair, but I would feel more comfortable having Sarah weigh in.
Okay, let's have Sarah weigh in and let's move on.
To me, it's very jumbled.
Bill?
Well, I don't know if it's jumping.
I don't
as
think
well.
it's
What I say, what I really mean is, what the hell are they doing now?
Right, I said the functions are so general.
Fundamental.
So that's why I have trouble viewing it as a pilot. I mean, it's just a general work. Why wouldn't they do this?
Yeah,
What are they
exactly.
gonna learn from putting more money into to one place? I mean, we obviously know they need more money and they need more staff, but to highlight it as a pilot, I just don't see the pilot nature of it so much.
Right, then I would be happy to use words like reinvigorate a system that had already existed. Because this is very much what the original vision, I believe, was to have a one-stop portal for workers in need of both further training, guidance, direction to jobs that exist in their region, of people who are actively working in those one-stop portals, working with employers in their region to identify jobs and identify both apprenticeships, internships, and provide and encourage the development of more of those. I mean, I see this,
That's what the Department of Labor is supposed to do. That's what these offices are supposed to do. And
that's
the
what,
BSEA has said that many of the people on the ground doing the work would say that is what we do. That's what we try to do. That's what we hope to
It
do.
should be a very short paragraph that says we appropriate $1 billion for the Department of Labor to do its job.
Right.
Because that's what this says.
right, I got it, I hear you. And we could certainly reshape it.
And this is not to make your life, I'm obviously making your life more difficult, but not to make it even further difficult. The stuff with the returnship and the other internship programs, sunsetting those and combining those, that's for another section for
Right.
labor? Okay.
Okay, so let's
Alright.
get to that. So, Amanda, if we could hear from Sarah, if she's able in the next little bit, that would be great.
But the next little bit, you need,
Either now or by tomorrow morning at 8:30. And let's move to we had all basically, I think, signed off on the corrections work that was,
Yes.
David, you want to walk us through these sections 6 through 10, I think it is?
Is that the corrections work?
Yeah.
I don't think we need to do that. We can
Okay.
talk about that.
Yeah, okay,
Sears is on board, and we checked crossed all the T's, dotted the I's.
I thought so. that takes us, David, to what, section 10?
Yeah, the bottom of page 24.
Okay, you want to walk us through this? This is, again, the Department of Labor.
Yeah, this is, repealing the current 2 sections of law that govern internships and returnships and replacing it with new section 547, the Vermont-based learning and training program. It still governs internships and returnships. Sets up this online platform to connect students and job seekers with opportunities, support work-based training and learning, collects data on the number of participants served.
20, this starts at, on the bottom of page 24, section 11. This is basically, as I understand it, as I recall, this is redefining a lot of this work, and they're working on these things already, but I think they are redesigning some of these programs. Is that correct, Amanda? That I think with Jay coming on board, this is their work. This is their everyday bread and butter work. And they are asking for money to rebuild and further administer these programs. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's a rewrite of that section that was existing, as David said, and then it's an increased investment of $1 million to expand the reach of this program.
Which is basically their state money of their bread and butter. Remember, their federal money, one of the challenges and one of the reasons they're as undersourced as they are is they have not been given state money to do this for state, what we want them to do as opposed to what the feds want them to do. Remember, 90% of them are funded, 90% of the work is funded by the feds with a bunch of strings that come attached to that. This is money that would go straight to our state priorities, and these programs that we have identified here. So this is, yes, their bread and butter, but it's giving them state money to do this state work.
So I'm sorry, I can't tell if we're saying it's replacing money that was lost, it's going to fund new positions, or it's going directly to individuals who are in programs so they can be compensated while they do training.
Yeah, so in our base budget, we had a $500,000 line item, which did some of this work. So this extra $1 million would primarily be going to pay these work-based learning experiences for participants.
So the money goes directly to Vermonters who are engaged in work-based learning. So like a paid internship.
Yeah, so a great example of this would be if an employer wanted to bring on an intern, but couldn't afford to pay the full wage, we could match like half that for the 6-week period or however long it may be.
Bottom of page 31, at the top of page 32, in which we list mechanical, industrial, medical training, we added a few things. Whenever I see something like that, I'm always concerned that we're going to adjourn and we forgot something important. I wonder if there could be some language that we insert that says or similar or equivalent or something that gives a more flexibility to be able to add something in terms of a certificate of value that does what we want done without the specificity here. When we're going to forget something, I guarantee you.
We have, this is all crossed out. I think that's what they're,
Crossed
is
out.
there not enough
Did you jump to section 14, Senator Brock?
I'm on page,
he's on page 31, which is mostly crossed
Right.
out on my,
mine is not crossed out.
mine is all crossed out except for section 14, which is the Vermont Trade Scholarship Program, which is
That's
what
correct.
they're
That's-
asking
that's
for
where I
$3 million.
That's right.
Jumped ahead. Okay.
I thought we were finished with that.
I think we're still on work-based learning training program, appropriations.
Can I
So this is,
This is money.
as Senator Ron said, this money, which is now 1.5, but you're saying you already had 500,000, so additional million to help do the internships. the
And
various
returnships, to help finance all the work that they can't finance from federal money, that they need to have state money to finance it.
Is there, Amanda, is there any breakout of what is administrative dollars versus what actually goes to Vermonters?
Yeah, we provided that to the House, so I'm happy to pull it up and send it to the committee.
Okay, because I would like to see, make sure the money goes to Vermonters and we're not just hiring administrators here.
Is there also some kind of agreement with the employer that it is a pathway to hiring if things work out?
I believe that's the intention. I don't think we outlined it clearly in this section, just because there's, there are some times where a student may be looking for a paid internship for a semester and they don't have intentions of, being hired by that employer necessarily. So I think that would be a little more situation specific. But I don't think we would be opposed to adding something in that kind of alludes to that, because that would be the end goal, is to keep them in Vermont.
Before we just go upstairs and leave this section, what is the reasoning for getting rid of the returnships and the other specific silos? This is just how it repeals, why are we repealing those?
It's the old, you tell us.
We just set them up, why are we repealing them?
Yeah, I would defer to Sarah on that.
I think she just redefined them. I think that's what she told us, is that you see the old language crossed out and the new language is on pages 25, 24, 25, and 26.
So let me suggest this, we have to go up. Senator Cluxton and I will continue to work through this and maybe get you sort of an annotated version that I hope you'll all be able to take a look at for the half hour.
Okay, we're at section 14. We'll start up again on section.
Now we're trying to highlight some of the decision points that need to be
Yeah.
proposed.
So Amanda, if you could get us Sarah's response and numbers of staff that would be needed for one really superb pilot,
Absolutely.
and what that would be great. And thank you, Keisha and Randy, all helpful. Because we actually haven't been able to do this, so this work is good.
8:30 tomorrow morning.